powered by Riverside FM.
What's up, spooks and ghouls? This is
The
Celestial
Daughters.
Ooh. My name is Taylor Barkley,
And I'm Morgan Brady.
and today's episode is about Litha, the Summer Solstice. When does it fall on?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it falls on June the 20th.
Which is this Friday, I believe.
And the first day of summer.
Hell yes. So, what is Litha? Morgan, break it down for me.
Okay, well, first, Litha has been practiced for thousands of years by pagans and other like minded individuals. And according to the Boston Public Library, it is a pagan holiday, one of the 8 Sabbats during the year. It's also known as midsummer and occurs on the summer solstice to celebrate the beginning of summer. The traditions of Litha appear to be borrowed from many cultures that celebrate the summer solstice in similar ways. For example, the Celts celebrated Litha with hilltop bonfires and dancing, which is what a lot of people do. And many people attempt to like jump over the fire or through the fire to get good luck.
I love that you said Celt when it's Celt.
This is what you have to look forward to.
Where's the coffee at? Okay, so
Not like we just ghost hunted and paranormal investigated all night long.
yeah, look out for that on the Team Brady pack. So, but back to Celestial Daughters. So, what are some magical things to do with Litha? So for starters, connecting with nature is a big one. This is to celebrate the sun and the summer. This is about being outside. So go for a hike, have a picnic. Me and Morgan actually plan on having one very soon, and we're calling it our Summerween picnic. You can just simply relax in a park or a garden. And if you don't really have access to either of that, well, I just suggest opening your window and embracing the sunlight as it comes through. Other than that, for nature, you can collect natural items, gather fat flowers, herbs, leaves, and stones for crafts and altar decorations. If you're going to be practicing, an altar is a really good plan to have. So collecting these things in nature are going to be some of the best items you can use in your craft. So, some other things you can do for Litha. Go for it, Morgan.
Why don't we honor the sun? Because that's what it's about. Litha is the longest day of the year. So we honor the sun and what the sun brings. That's why a lot of people light that bonfire so they can connect to the fire, the spark, become one with the fire. You are the spark.
You are the spark.
You can make some sun water. So just getting you some water, go find some water at a lake or a spring or collect some rainwater. It's been raining a lot here. Or you can just get it from your sink and set it out in the sun and let that water absorb the energy of the sun. And you can use that water for cleansing rituals, or you can add it to some teas or anything along those lines. Do some meditation. Go sit out in the sun, soak in the sunlight, meditate, think about what this year has brought you so far and what you want to manifest into the second half of the year. Um yeah, and about that tea, Taylor, how do you make that tea?
Yes. So, obviously, with every great solstice, any of the solstice actually, there's always some sort of food or drink very much associated with that holiday. So, several things. Obviously, for Litha, you're going to want to use the seasonal fruits, berries, vegetables, and herbs for your meals, especially when you're trying to do the summer feast. So, some things you could most definitely be on the lookout for when you're wanting to partake with Litha is a honey cake. But why a honey cake? Well, the ancients considered the rare prize of foraged honey a gift from the gods. Yeah, so pretty interesting. Um, Many practitioners will leave honey and cakes in the garden on the night of Midsummer's Eve to delight any woodland spirits, and mostly as we know them as fairies.
Taylor loves them fairies.
I love the fairies, I'm not gonna lie. Some actually leave a slice at their altar or in their garden as an offering. So, with this in mind, when you want to do the honey cake, I would probably suggest a high quality honey. I mean, you can do it with whatever kind of honey you want, but truly, if you're gonna leave it as an offering for the gods or the fairies, let's go ahead and get some nice things. How about that? For that summer water, you can actually make what something is called considered the sun tea, and that's actually a ritual. So, for the summer solstice ritual, you're normally going to set intentions and you're going to let all the herbs that you're using for your intentions to steep under the sun, and you can use the sun water to do that as well. But there are so many different intention infused tea combinations you can use. The biggest thing that you're going to want for the supply wise is obviously a mason jar or a glass jar. You're going to fill it up. You're going to use your herbs and fruits and flowers that are associated with the solstice. A couple of tea bags, it's optional. And then, of course, some crystals, and we'll get to that in full. The big part is going to be a pen and piece of paper. You're just want to write out those intentions as you sit. But we will leave all of these in our show notes so you can look up what kind of tea infusions you would like. And for the honey cake, it gives you step by step on what you need. But I think there's so much you can do.
Thank you, Taylor, for letting us know about that fantastic tea and honey. You could probably also add some honey to your tea. Say no. But anyways, also what you can do is do some crafts. Everybody loves to do some crafts. Get out in the sun and get your hands dirty and find you some flowers and pull some twigs. Find some twigs on the ground and make you a flower crown. Everybody loves flower crowns.
I love a good flower crown. I truly do.
And you always feel more beautiful when you're wearing a flower crown.
And what a great way to just celebrate with the sun god when you look like a flower that you've grown due to his warmth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we wouldn't be who we are without the sun.
Exactly. So, I guess one of my questions, and I'm sure several others who are listening who maybe don't participate too much, because we've already talked about a few different things. So, what flowers are associated with Litha?
Well, I mean, off the top of my head, any yellow orange flowers like sunflowers, or daisies would be good to use. You could also use some roses or lavender, marigold, just really anything that is linked to the sun and its power. Like sunflowers are often linked to the sun and its power. And roses, they symbolize the love and beauty and passion that we want to manifest and set intentions towards. Lavender is associated with relaxation and purification, which we want to do, which is marigolds are also just when I think sun, when I think of a flower that is associated with the sun, it is a marigold. Can't go wrong with those. And daisies are like innocence, childlike. Which why not? Let's all be kids again, please.
Please. I
Please.
don't want to pay bills anymore.
I'm done being an adult. And then chamomile is known for, calming and relaxing, which is what we want to do. We want to relax and so we can think clearly, so we can manifest what we want for the rest of the year.
I like it. I like it. And being a big fan of flower crowns, I also feel like baby's breath is not a terrible idea to throw in there. I mean,
Never.
it adds such beauty and just purity to it as
Yeah.
well.
It's that innocence we're talking about.
It's that innocence, yeah. Which is, I mean, let's go back to being a kid. Come on.
Please.
Please. So,
I know what I'm manifesting.
time travel. Got it. All right. So, we've talked about food and drinks, a little bit of the crafts, the flowers. So, crystals. I mean, obviously, if we're going to talk about an altar, normally you set it up with crystals.
Sure.
So what are we talking about?
Well, first off, you can find any kind of rock and put it on your altar in the natural universe, but specific crystals that you could pick up to help empower your intentions are any yellow, gold, or orange crystals. Again, like we're talking colors, sun, any of those, they can represent the sun's light, the warmth, vitality, and just used to invoke brightness and positivity. We're talking about citrine. Citrine's a great orange crystal, and it's also known for its manifestation properties and clarity. So it makes an ideal crystal for when you're wanting to set those intentions for the rest of the year and for the season ahead. A carnelian, also a bright stone, encourages your happiness, attracts prosperity, uplifts the spirit. Citrine and carnelian is something I use a lot when I'm dealing with my solar plexus chakra, which is something that I focus on during Litha, which we'll get to later. Another crystal, clear quartz. You can never go wrong with clear quartz. It helps amplify energy, provide you some clarity, which is why we want to relax and focus on breathing and relaxation. Turquoise, it's a stone of boldness, encourages that self-expression and connection. And tiger's eye, strengthens your willpower and focus. It helps you to like empower your intentions again, and really helps you stay aligned and focused on your goals and what you want during your long sunny days that will be shortening soon. Get it while you have it.
And yeah, so citrine is one of those big ones that I feel like is easy to find. Most people who are practicing or wanting to get into practicing, any local crystal shop you have is gonna have citrine, and it's just such a good one to have on you for many things. But obviously for Litha, it's a great one to have.
Yeah, I love citrine. I have a lots of citrine.
Okay, so let's talk about some herbs. Like we've talked a little bit about it, like with the sun tea and all that. But let's dive deeper into it, all right? So some of the most ones that are commonly associated with Litha are going to be St. John's wort, chamomile, lavender, and rosemary. We have talked about chamomile and lavender already about what they're used for, but St. John's wort, all right, it is normally associated with the sun and solar energy. So we are celebrating the sun. You might as well have an herb that represents the sun itself. We've talked about chamomile and lavender, rosemary. It's super good for cleansing and purification properties, and it makes a really good choice for altar decor or if you're going to do a sun ritual bath. I'm not saying you have to take a bath in the sun, but pop off queen if you do. I hope you have a big fence, but if you don't, take some of that sun water that you already got, throw some rosemary in there, and have you a ritual bath. It's so relaxing. I've done it before with lavender and rose petals, but for Litha, rosemary would be a good one. Some other ones would be melanin. I don't know if I actually said that right, but just roll with it, baby. It is also good for protection and purity. It can be included into the ritual bundies. So if you're going to make like a sage bundle or anything like that, you can put it in that. And it's as good as a spiritual cleansing agent. Similar to that is going to be yarrow, which also has the same protective properties, and it can ward off any negative energy. So while you're doing your praxis, while you're setting up your altar, you do obviously want to make sure it's cleansed. You don't want to allow negative energy to come in while you are trying to celebrate something that is supposed to be a new, brighter day, a new, brighter year. Like you're putting your intentions out there. Make sure your area is cleansed, along with altar decors. So we've covered offerings, herbs, flowers. So one of the bigger things for an altar is going to be candles.
Yeah, you can't forget the candles.
Can't forget the candles.
Litha. So for candles, like there's all kinds of things that you can do. You can make candles if you have the resources to be able to do that. And if you want to make candles, then it's suggested that you use those bright colors that we've been talking about. Or you can use green for growth and prosperity, or blue to represent the sky and the waters of life. But when you want to make those candles, use beeswax. I mean, we were just talking about honey and bees, so use some beeswax or some soy wax. And then the herbs and flowers that we were just talking about, you can use those to anoint the candle. So if you can't make a candle, you can go to your local witchy shop or
Dollar General.
Dollar General and get you some candles. Try to get those bright colors, but if you can't, white candle never hurts. Never go wrong with a white candle. But anoint that candle. So use oils like
Associated with the herbs and stuff.
yeah. Yeah, you can use oils like orange oil. You can also use rosemary because that's a very spiritual oil to help you grow and to keep your mind focused on what intentions you're trying to set. You can use rose oil because that also is a very summery oil, goes well with Litha as well. Sandalwood, which is also known for grounding and spiritual properties. So what you do is you get your candle, whether you're making it or you bought it from a store, and you put that oil on there. And when you're putting the oil on there, you're setting those intentions of what you want for the next half of the year. And then you get yourself a little plate or bowl and put your little herbs associated with it, or those crystals associated with Litha, and you rub the candle in the herbs and visualize, imagine your wishes and manifestations, and just remember that it's the sun and supported by the energy of Litha and what that day brings. And then put it on your altar and light it when you're ready.
Yeah, I mean, something that seems like it could take a little bit of time really isn't that hard. I mean, it depends on how much you want to go into it. Let's say your altar is pretty simple. You don't have enough room to add a vase of flowers or a slice of honey cake. You could easily take a candle, you could kind of like boil it down, not in water, but you know what I mean. Like you can get the sides warmed up enough, put some parchment paper down with the herbs already on it, and roll the candle on it. Like something super simple, especially if you don't have enough room for everything.
'Cause all of these things are just tools to help us like increase our own energy and our own manifestations that will help us. It's about celebration. Celebrate the day. Um, and like for me, an altar really just needs to include like the four elements. You know, fire, water, earth, air. And it can be so simple. If you can't afford to take the time to do all of this stuff, just light a candle, put a little glass of water, and light an incense, and put a rock, and you're good.
Yeah. And I think with that, we should probably discuss what we do for Litha. Morgan, how about you go ahead and start us off? What is it that you do for Litha? What is Litha to you?
Well, first off, I would like to say that I believe that Litha is basically the 4th of July for pagans. Now, I mean, if you think I'm wrong, let me know, but I don't think I'm wrong on that. For me, Litha has been about growth. It's been about, like I was talking about the solar plexus, just making sure that I can go outside and really enjoy nature for some length of time on that day is super important to me. It's about celebration and gratitude. The things that I'm reflection and intention, all of those things, which we will probably be talking about a lot on this podcast. But for me, there are a few specific things that I do. I make sure to meditate, whether I take 5 minutes or 3 hours. Meditating to me is clearing my head from the things, life around me, and everything that's going on in life, then focusing on what I would like my life to look like for not only the summer season, but for the rest of the year as well. It's like also a new year in some sort, but it's not, you know? But the things that I like to write about, and then I write. I write for a long time outside. I try not to let the bugs bother me, but I have problem with bugs, but I try not to let them bother me. I'm working on it, okay? One with the fish, too. Let me just say that. But I write about the things that I've been struggling with, especially related to my solar plexus. And the self-esteem, the confidence, my willpower. Those three things are three of the most powerful like feelings in my body that I've struggled with since I was as young as I can remember. And so just really focusing on like where I'm at with my self-esteem and my confidence now, and what do I do when I'm feeling insecure, and then writing about what I can do better, or how I can communicate better, to not only those around me but to myself as well, because constantly communicating to yourself. And then after I do that, like just really basking in the sun, and enjoying the sun for as long as I possibly can. Already getting pretty tan this year, but I'm hoping to get even more tan, so that day should be good for tanning. If I can get in some water, I like to get in some water. I like to really celebrate by using all the elements that I can and focusing on intentions and manifesting better days ahead always. And I do light candles and set up an altar. I have not practiced a lot of food and drinks and things along those lines, but that's why I have Taylor to balance me out and teach me new things.
Yeah.
But really that's my practice. That's what it looks like for me on the days that on the summer solstice on Litha. Um, so I hope that you can relate to that, and if you can't, I'm sure you'll relate to Taylor because we're very different people.
And that's a great point about individuality, even with the craft. So yeah, we're gonna have some different ideals. I do set up my altar, nothing too crazy. Do the associated crystals and candles and the herbs if I have them. Most times for me, for Litha, it is about spending time outside. So I will go to a flower garden, like with my mother. I'll take my dogs. We'll pick flowers from the you pick. Not saying that those always turn into flower crowns, and half the times, well, actually, no, most times they just turn into flower swags, which, if you don't know what that is, it's just the flower bundles you wrap around in twine, and then you hang it upside down, you let it all dry out, and then you put that on your wall as decoration. So that's normally what I do associated with the flowers. Now, if I make a flower crown, yes, I use the associated flower crowns, and I do love a good flower crown. Beyond that, a bonfire if I can. A lot of times we'll go anywhere for a bonfire, but I do the dancing part. I love the dancing part, having a drink. One thing I love to do for Litha is the honey cake, but I don't have the mode that you see a lot of times that are used for the honey cake, which makes it more aesthetically pleasing, but that's totally cool. The honey cake, I've tried doing honey mead. Didn't always taste the greatest, but I did try it. But yeah, I mean, mine is more on the simpler side. I do enjoy it. I try to enjoy the outside. I try to enjoy the warmth. Being outside, swimming, the bonfire at night, looking up at the sky and seeing the stars is more on the nature side, of course, being with the fairies or offerings to the fairies and the gods. Other than that, I don't have a deep ritual for it. I not every holiday I celebrate the same, and you take that how you want. And sometimes it depends on if I work. I mean, I do work, unfortunately, for this Litha, so a lot of what I like to do for the holidays just depend on if I work too. But yeah, I like the warmth. I like the growth. So yeah, I mean, we're two different people. We celebrate it differently, and we have different rituals, you may say, or just what we do to associate ourselves with Litha. So speaking of stargazing, clearly,
We can't forget
the moon. So the moon phase will be the waning crescent moon. And if you are practicing or want to start practicing, the phases of the moons have its own association with part of magic as well. So Litha has been about self-care, releasing negative energy, and starting anew. It's about joining in with the light and the sun. But the waning crescent moon has its own potency for certain things. So, Morgan, do you want to talk about that?
first, I think it's really neat that the waning crescent moon is the final stage of the lunar cycle when we're beginning a season of summertime. So it's a great time for that releasing of things and letting go. A good time to, like I was talking about, reflect for yourself and some introspection. And then detox and cleansing. It's a perfect time to detox all of that ickiness that this year has brought probably all of us so far.
Yeah, shake it
And
off.
shake it off and just start anew.
Yeah, so what is reflecting on the past cycle that we just went through, we can now prepare for new beginnings. So hopefully this episode brings you some enlightenment. Share with us what you would like for us to talk about. I'm sure we can talk much more about certain aspects of the solstice, any of them. And most times, like several ones, like we're probably going to go so deep into Samhain, Halloween, that is our season. We love spooky. That is just what we're built for. But let us know, like, are you interested that we're talking about the moon phase? Does that help you?
Yeah, do you want us to talk about astrology or
Astrology.
do you want to know about crystals more?
Yeah, let us know what we're looking for.
And we'll tell you about us as much as you want.
Yeah. So, but I think that's a good end for the very first episode that we'll have for the Celestial Daughters. So, with that being said, I have been Taylor,
I have been Morgan.
and this has been the Celestial
Daughters. Stay magical.
and stay spooky. Ooh. That's a wrap.